Hey folks, Dust here. I know it's been quite a while since I've put some content here on the Esports channel, but today was certainly a pretty big special occasion as the talent announcement was just made for the next set of RMRs and the major for the Perfect World Shanghai Major, which of course the English broadcast is being done by PGL, who of course ran the first CS2 major earlier this year in Copenhagen, and I was a part of the RMRs broadcast for that. I did the Americas RMR and the Asia RMR, and that was kind of my return back to Counter-Strike broadcasting in general. And now, all of a sudden, I am now a part of the RMRs for the Shanghai Major. I'll be working the Americas RMR and both European RMRs. And then, of course, I am working the major itself, which is honestly, it's still surreal, those words coming out of my mouth. I'm just kind of floored, to be honest with you. Um, words kind of escape me to really be able to capture what it means to me and all that jazz, honestly. Just to kind of give a background, for those of you who might be seeing this video because you just saw the talent announcement and you have no idea who I am, very briefly, I'll just say that I've been involved in esports broadcasting as a hobby since way back in 2009, 2008, working in Counter-Strike Source. Eventually, I got picked up by ESEA TV in around the 2011 timeframe to work on Counter-Strike Source and Counter-Strike 1.6 broadcast for ESEA. And then, from there, I essentially was there at day one of Counter-Strike Global Offensive as a broadcaster, working with ESEA before they were eventually bought out by ESL. And then I also work with, companies like Civo and Gfinity and MLG on their different pro leagues kind of early on in CSGO. And I was mostly a commentator back then, mostly play-by-play commentary actually, but kind of around 2015 I made a big pivot into doing more color commentary and desk analysis work. And then kind of 2016 I think is where I really kind of turned it into a full-time focus, and that kind of started when I worked the Civo Gfinity Pro League finals kind of early in 2016, where I actually did some commentary with Vince, but I also did some desk work with Thorin and Richard Lewis, and that actually propelled me into doing E-League Season 1 kind of in the middle of 2016 with Richard Lewis and Moses and several others that worked that desk, and from there I kind of rotated between doing color commentary with Vince as a duo for different DreamHack Open events and some DreamHack Masters B streams and, some other, online broadcasts, but also did desk work for things like the ESL Pro League, things like back in the day when Faceit still had the ECS. I worked on that, and then just worked several different events really. But really, my work in Counter-Strike kind of came to almost a screeching halt in 2021. I kind of just hit a dead end. And at the same time, I was already kind of dabbling and working in Valorant. And so when I felt like I had kind of hit a dead end in Counter-Strike, I really kind of doubled down on working in Valorant. And I basically worked there for 3 years covering initially the biggest league in North America, after First Strike and before VCT really set in. I was commentating all the top pro North American teams in various tournaments. And then I wound up being a part of the first VCT before it became, LAN, and before it became, like North America combined with South America. And then after that, I worked on Challengers North America for a couple of years as well. And my whole goal was to work Counter-Strike and Valorant at the same time from the start, but it just didn't really work out that way. I couldn't really get my foot back in the door in Counter-Strike, despite how much I still love the game and never really meant to leave it, so to speak. But at the end of 2023, while I was kind of trying to figure out what was going to happen for 2024 as far as Valorant went, I was getting very mixed signals from Riot, and ultimately in the end I got really fucked over, to be honest there. But PGL had reached out to me to do the RMRs for the Copenhagen Major right at the very end of 2023. I think it was like maybe October or November or something like that. And obviously at that point I hadn't done anything in Counter-Strike for about 3 years. And it kind of blew me away that they would even reach out. I worked with them in the past whenever they worked different minors and stuff like that in CS Global Offensive, but this was kind of way, way back in the day, if I'm being 100% honest with you. And I, hadn't really spoken with them since. I think the last time I had worked with them was when I did the CIS minor that they ran for the Boston Major, the 2018 Boston Major. And I think I worked another minor with them as well for the Krakow major that they did back in 2017. So really hadn't had any contact with them since then. And obviously, I jumped on the opportunity. I deep dive to catch back up on Counter-Strike essentially, and I went and I did the American and Asia RMRs, back in, I think that was, March, February kind of time frame, and it went really well. People seemed to really receive me well. I felt like I was able to find my groove again pretty quickly on the desk, and everything went really well. And so I was, pretty stoked about that. And I had kind of an idea that maybe I'd come back for the next RMRs because I knew that, PGL would be running the English broadcast for the Shanghai Major RMRs at that point. And yeah, it was kind of a waiting game at that point. And so back in August, I actually was contacted to do the RMRs for Americas and Europe. And I was super stoked to be able to be able to come back and do the RMRs as a desk analyst. And obviously, again, immediately accepted. Immediately started getting to work because I was going to have to prep for 48 teams to work on the desk for, the Americas RMR and both European RMRs. That's 48 teams that are going to be between those events. And so, man, it was nose to the grindstone for me, essentially, the last few months, just, really going through all the different teams, going through their stats, results, map pool, you name it. I've looked at it. And then obviously watching a ton of film to learn how all these teams play, what roles their players facilitate, all those different things, right? Obviously, I kind of started with the top 10 or 15 teams in the world, and really kind of studying those teams. But I dug deep and studied even, some of the small European teams you may have never even heard of that are going to be at some of these RMRs, and really kind of dug into that just to make sure that I understood every player and every team that was going to be at those RMRs. And I went hard. Between the 48 teams I've prepped for, I probably have over like 200 pages worth of notes at this point that I've built over the last month and a half or maybe even longer. I can't even tell you how many demos I've watched. I've watched basically every team play all the maps that they play at least once, if not twice, just to really get an understanding on like their style, their roles, how cohesive they look, like just really grinding out preparation. And for those of you who know me back in the day, I've always been known as a big grinder, a big note taker, someone who's always super prepared. And so this was no exception. But I'll never forget it. I was kind of sitting in bed, and the crazy thing is that I gotta tell you, this is the craziest story ever how I found out that I got the major. So I was in bed one morning, and I heard a bunch of police sirens outside my house, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? And it turned out that there was like 10 or 15 cop cars and a SWAT van down the road from my house, essentially raiding a house. Like IRL flashbang got thrown inside this house. Crap is loud, by the way. It was a surreal morning. I'm like, what is going on? Never really understood what happened there. I assume it was just, obviously the police after someone they were looking for or something like that was hiding out inside of a house or something or whatever. And so this house got raided, cops everywhere, SWAT team, police dog, like, was wild. And I remember it woke me up like pretty early that morning, earlier than I usually would wake up. And I couldn't get back to sleep, obviously, after something like that. I mean, that shit's wild. Maybe I'll dig deeper into that story another day. But anyway, so I'm just laying in bed after all that happened and the police cleared out and stuff like that. And I knew I wasn't going back to sleep. I was just kind of chilling, doing the classic scrolling of the phone, all social media, YouTube, whatever. And then all of a sudden, email pops up on my phone. And at first, I thought it was just a follow-up email from PGL about the RMRs because we had an email chain going on, and I was just, figuring, hey, maybe there's some more information they want from me, or maybe they were giving me some more information about the RMRs that I need to know, or something along those lines. And so I open up the email, just fully expecting it to be, something along those lines. And this was on October 3rd that I found this out. And it was basically just an email that said, hey, Dustin, we are defining the list of talents, and we are pleased to invite you to be a part of our team, also for the major, not only the RMRs. And when I read that, I couldn't believe it. I still can't believe it. Even though I've been sitting here the last month since that email came, and I've been hard at work preparing for the major, it still doesn't feel real. I didn't know when it would hit me, to be honest, but I guess seeing like the public announcement, obviously I've already like signed contracts and everything's official. My flights are booked, hotels booked, all that jazz. So like clearly it's real. But I think today it became a little more real seeing a public announcement like that. And sorry, I didn't intend to get emotional, but the major is a dream I've chased after for 11 years. When the first major for CS:GO happened in 2013, and I was, working with the ESCA, I was like, man, it'd be really awesome to do a major. And sorry. And I chased after it, obviously, like any broadcaster would. And obviously, I did some big things over the years, working with various different pro leagues, getting to work with the DreamHack Open circuit, getting to work with, DreamHack Masters remotely. I had never gotten to work a stadium or an arena tier 1 event, though. So that was always my next goal, right? Was I just want to work a tier 1 event in a stadium or arena, So I've kind of skipped the step. Still haven't done that yet. I've worked some smaller like stadium and arena events for like, DreamHack Opens at different conventions and expos and some different things like that. But I haven't really gotten to work like one of the real big ones. And so now I'm apparently I'm working a major, which is absolutely absurd. I'll be honest, I kind of gave up on the dream of working a major and really working in Counter-Strike ever again. A couple of years ago, I kind of made peace with the fact that, hey, I guess maybe my days in Counter-Strike are numbered, because I wasn't really getting many offers after COVID and kind of in the 2021 time frame. I was really not hearing much in the CS front, and so I was really just focused on Valorant at that point in time. And when PGL kind of hit me up to do the RMRs for the Copenhagen Major, obviously I jumped on the opportunity to get back involved again. But again, I still had no expectation that I would ever work a major, or I really didn't even have the expectation I'd be regularly involved in CS broadcasting. I kind of figured, hey, it'd just be like a one-off. Like, hey, I get to kind of make a cool return, work the RMRs, get to see some of my old friends again, and get to work with Counter-Strike again. But, after the RMRs, despite kind of, I thought I did a great job, and it seemed like a lot of people also felt the same way. I wasn't really getting any chances to work any other events or anything like that. And so I was kind of just like, oh, well, hey, at least I got a chance to come back and do one for Counter-Strike 2 and be a part of the first CS2 major in some capacity, even though it wasn't the major itself. It was just the RMRs. But yeah, now doing my actual first major is, yeah, I can't believe it. And all I can say to for those of you out there, whether you're a supporter or a hater, or whatever the case may be, just know that, like, I don't take this lightly. Like, I know how big this is. I know, putting trust in me to work such a big broadcast and big project is something that I just don't take lightly. I'm incredibly humbled and honored. And let me tell you that I have been, like I said, busting my ass every day for the last several months, preparing for all the RMR teams, thinking that was, my focus. And, now, obviously some of those teams that I've been preparing for are going to be at the major, and I'll be, right there on top of that. So trust me when I tell you that I have not taken this lightly. I've always been a big preparer, but I've prepared more than I think I ever have for an event these last couple of months. And I'll continue to do so leading up until I leave. And then throughout the course of the event, I will still be continuing to make sure I'm up to date, just on top of everything, and just looking to go out there and do the best work I've ever done. Like that's always the goal, and that's certainly the goal for this too. And yeah, I don't want to sit here and ramble on too much. I didn't mean for this video to be super long, but I did just want to put a video out there just to kind of talk about, the talent announcement, talk about getting to work my first major and all that jazz. And yeah, I don't know what else other to say than I'm just truly honored, and the level of excitement and joy that I have to be able to finally get to live this dream I've been chasing for so long is just, it's hard to put into words. But I look forward to working with everyone as well. It is a banger lineup. Obviously Richard Lewis, fantastic host. I got to work with him back like in E-League and stuff back in 2016, but haven't worked to death with him since. So to be able to work with him again is great. Tech Girl, another host. someone I haven't really worked with. She was kind of coming up in Counter-Strike as I was kind of away from it, but I'm a huge fan of her work, and I am super excited to get to work alongside her on some deck segments as well, probably throughout the course of the RMRs and the major itself. I would imagine there's going to be some kind of rotation, and so I obviously, am excited to get to work with her as well. As far as like fellow analysts, I've worked with Maui Snake in the past. I've worked with Bled in the past. So already know those two guys. They're fantastic. Can't wait to work with them again. I've never worked with Yanko. So Yanko's someone I've always admired and looked up to. His style, his game knowledge, his knowledge of the teams and players, that level of analysis, that ability to go that deep and that detailed is something I've truly admired, and I've tried to model my own analysis after. Obviously, I need to have a balance of entertainment and insight, and so don't get me wrong. I know that I have to balance that out, and also just kind of let loose and have a good time sometimes, and understand that it's an entertainment product, not just an analysis product, something I've struggled with in the past. But yeah, I'm ready to go. And obviously, all the other talent that's working on, the Asia RMRs, those guys are fantastic. Obviously, it's cool to see Jackie and Vince get to be a part of the RMRs for Americas and Europe. They're fantastic dudes. Vince is obviously someone I used to duo with. Got a lot of love for him. He's like one of my brothers in esports, basically. And then, obviously, you go through the lineup, and the casting lineup is incredibly stacked. And again, just know that I don't take this lightly. As much as this means a lot to me, and selfishly, I kind of am just so happy to get this. I understand that this is the focus is going to be on the celebration of Counter-Strike and these teams and players, and so I'm taking this moment to be excited and happy about getting to be a part of it. But now it's about continue to finish my preparations and then to focus on celebrating the game, celebrating the players, working with an incredible crew to put on an incredible broadcast. And trust me when I tell you that I have left no stone unturned. I feel like I have prepared as much as I possibly can. I've probably overdone it, to be honest, and I'll continue to keep doing it until I get there. And then once the camera goes live for these first broadcasts, I look to try to do the best work I've ever done, work well with my desk mates to put on a great product. And yeah, I can't wait. I know that there's probably some people out there who are doubting this a little bit to see my name on a major talent list. I'm kind of the one that maybe sticks out a little bit, as all the other people on the talent list for the major have worked a major or mini majors already in the past. So this is my first one. So I'm kind of the rookie or the new guy on the block for a major. But yeah, I'm going to bust it and do my absolute best. That's all I can tell you. And hopefully they'll give me the chance. Either you already like the work I've done, and so you're super excited to hear this, or maybe you're indifferent or don't know, or maybe in the past you haven't liked my stuff, but, just give it a chance. And, I think you'll see that I really want this to go well. So that'll do it for this video. Again, I don't want to ramble too much. Thanks so much, and see you at the major.